Hello, this is a quick video. I wanted to talk a little bit about a performance I did last week at Wavetable using my modular synth and drum machine with a real focus on sort of gestural performance, interacting with the machine in that way. And I'm going to be unpatching this setup today, and I just wanted to share a couple of the techniques from the performance in case it's something that you're also looking to incorporate into your own performance. So for those that kind of follow me, you know that I use a lot of stuff with the Teletype. That was the kind of main brain in this patch as well. It's responsible for drum programming and big chord changes, and the sort of main way that I'm interacting with the Teletype is with these Larach pedals. They come with the Larach. I have two Larachs in the case. This one is set up with the left pedal providing a kind of run-stop style control over the drums. So if I just hit the left one, we should hear drums. There we go. And I can mute it as well. And then this right pedal is set up to cycle through a sort of curated chord progression and sort of transposition that basically it's using inversions so that the chord jumps are nice and close together and they don't sound too dramatic or too sort of hard to follow. And also there's enough variety to them and a lot of offsetting and stuff that, you know, even throughout the course of like a 20-minute set, you're hopefully not getting too bored of it. So I just trigger these with this button. And that'll keep going, and then as it sort of reaches the end of the chord progression, then offsets start being added and stuff. That's quite nice. I've got the sort of voice for that is the scythe here. So I've got the 4 CV outs from Teletype, giving the like root 3rd, 5th, 7th of the chords into the scythe. And then he goes into the ara for that kind of striked opening of the filter, and then it goes into the Procyon as well for a little bit of extra grit and sort of timbre. It gets quite nice and crunchy and distorted when I turn up the gain. So that's going on there, and this other Larach pedal here is also controlling the Teletype, which is controlling the Disting NT. So I've not made a video yet with the Disting NT. I've just been kind of learning it for a wee while and getting more and more comfortable doing kind of more complicated patches with it. For this, I can zoom in, I think, for this. So for my performance, I had a stack set up with a couple of instances of the poly multi-sample. Teletype has kind of got some clever code that's basically doing like round robin style. You know, it's only going to pick one of those at a time and sort of swap between them like a switch. I've got a mixer to mix them all together, as well as mix in my Pulsar23 because I've got some effects in this chain as well and I wanted the drums to be affected. Then I've got a stereo delay and the Curbinator, and then a stopwatch just for keeping time of my set. So with this pedal I can play those nice poly sample sounds. Really nice. And then with the right button, I've got this mapped as a CV source on on the NT itself to control the stereo delay, and more specifically the sort of time factor. So it's looking at the multiplications and the divisions of the buffer itself. So if I play some notes in and then hit that button, because both the time factor as well as feedback are increased with this button being held, we can get these kind of looping frozen, almost like frozen delay line, and then when I let go, we get these whips. It's quite nice to just sort of interact with it like this. Really fun. And then we also have, so up on the Pulsar, we have these two sets of manual CV control. And these are basically acting as a really big macro for a lot of stuff in the system. And that's kind of the whole sort of patch itself is looking at like macro controls across a whole system for in terms of the performance. So this set here is increasing sort of the delay time and feedback on the Pulsar. So the longer I hold it, we get these kind of almost dubby like feedback trails. And then on this side, what I need to do is I'll just turn that on a second. This side is affecting a bunch of stuff. It's basically affecting the play parameter on the Curbinator, and it's also affecting the dry wet on the arbor, and it's also affecting the reverb on the arbor. So we basically have our disting voices being through the sort of effects patch on the disting. We also have the Pulsar23 coming into the disting and being affected by its effects, which are then going into the arbor for kind of serial processing. So if I put the mic down a second, I can let you hear what that sort of sounds like altogether. Really cool. And what I really like about the Curbinator here is you can hear it's still going because the buffer itself is longer than me just sort of hitting a bunch of stuff. And I just love that even after I've stopped interacting, with the setup, we're still hearing stuff in the buffer, which is really fun. I'm also using these landscape Allflesh. These are the DIY ones. My DIY skills are not super, but I was able to put these together, and yeah, they're all working. I'm still figuring out the best way how. So I think like if you're touching multiple points, then obviously like signals are getting sort of spread and decreasing their sort of strength. But I quite like how glitchy and kind of unusual that sounds, especially when you're like live patching. So a couple of the applications I had for these was to be able to mix sources just on the fly. So I've got this like Just Friends running a kind of poly-ish voice. It's pretty harsh. But again, if you get that in there, and then use the macro control, we're capturing that in the Curbinator as well, which is quite fun. I should say, the arbor as well, because some people might ask, it's running the sort of ring buffer preset. I've modified mine so that instead of having control over CV control over hold. Mine's has got CV control over reverb, because who doesn't love the reverb? And one of the other things that I wanted to do with the Allflesh was have these momentary, basically like feedback, allow the feedback path on Luba to be sort of momentarily engaged. So for those that don't know, the Luba feeds into itself when you have the inputs unpatched. So I've got my big juicy chord stabs coming in, but I can also bridge the gap between the aux out and either of the inputs to create feedback, which just sounds so good. And because I've got Luba set up as this kind of mono in, stereo out, I can sort of pan the feedback depending on which input I use. So yeah, that's really fun. And then I also, for additional feedback in the actual venue, I've got another Larach at the bottom of my case here set up with the microphone engaged, and basically just bridging the connection between, we won't hear it here because I'm not attached to speakers, but bridging the pad from the microphone out into the Carn, which is then going to the actual PA system in the venue, and creating proper feedback, like PA feedback, as opposed to the Luba, which is doing like zero input feedback. So it's kind of nice. And what else did I want to mention? The Grackle. I've got the Grackle down here from Entropic Loop. It's a crazy FM synth, and it can make some really wild sounds. I've got mine set up here. It's kind of cycling envelope mode, and it's kind of self-patched to make really harsh sounds, so I can do that as well. It's really loud though, so I need to make sure that it's not going to be too loud. So kind of percussive sounds if I increase. And then we've got this mod output as well, which is like the one unaffected by the VCA. Crazy sounds. And another thing that's kind of cool about the Allflesh, in this situation where there's a lot of touch interaction going on, is that I found touching the pads on the Allflesh while also interacting with the pads on the Pulsar will bring like audio signals in through this, and because this CV patch is like connected to the effects section on the Pulsar, we're sort of cross-modulating audio sources in effects buffers and stuff, and it's totally mad and really fun. So that's kind of I wanted to let you hear the drums as well a little bit, because they sound so good with all the effects. Yeah, really, really fun. So the gig was last Thursday. I've actually cut up the 20-minute performance and sort of condensed it into it's more like 10 minutes in the end. Into like an 8-track EP kind of thing. really experimental sounds, and really fun. Like, kind of leads on from the last stuff that I did on the Pelf release. Yeah, so I'm gonna be releasing that shortly. The catch-up video from the actual Wavetable Performance is also going to be up shortly. Yeah, so I'm finally free of this patch. I'm going to unpatch it today and start a clean slate for the next thing that I'm going to start working on. So yeah, if there's anything I missed in this that you want to know about, then let me know. And yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.